Nation, welcome to another episode of the Raider Nation's Weekly Wire. With me today is the man that Debo said this bike is Bofar's. That's Chris from Protect the Shield. Chris, welcome to another episode, brother. Thank you for being here with us. How's it going?
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here, man. Wouldn't want to be nowhere else, with my guy. The football season, we're almost there, Dub. We're almost there.
Sir, yes, sir.
We're about a week away, man. So, I'm doing good over here, man. Doing good. It's starting to get a little cold on this way, man, because you guys don't know nothing about fall. See, we have all 4 seasons, so
we don't know seasons.
Yeah, so you don't know the season, so it's fall time a little bit, so the temperature's slowly dropping, but everything's good.
That's good, man. That's good to hear. Good to hear. Well, something else I heard was that coming up next week, you're going to have a very big interview with an ex-Raider. Let the Raider Nation know what's happening.
Yeah, man. Everyone that knows me knows that, I really love that, even though we weren't that good, in the, around, 2010, 2011 or whatever. But that was like when we first kind of started fighting back a little bit, right. That Hugh Jackson era. But Jason Campbell, I'm going to be having an interview with Jason Campbell, the quarterback. He's a guy that I really respect, the guy that was helping us get in the right direction. And honestly, if he didn't get hurt, we were going to, be a very explosive offense, with him, McFadden, and all them.
Yeah, that's great.
We were making moves. So I'm excited to talk to him, about, just his Raider days and just some of the stories behind the scenes stuff. Because he was there for, a pivotal moment, for the Raiders, because he was a starting quarterback when Al Davis died and all that stuff, man. So we're going to have some good stuff to talk about. So definitely tune in.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Raider Nation, we will definitely keep you informed. Check out Chris's page. I will also be posting on all my social media. He'll be posting on all social media because I believe it's going to be live, correct?
Yeah.
Interview. So it'll be live. If you can't catch it live, that's cool. It'll be recorded on his YouTube page. So check it out. Jason Campbell, ex-Raider, live with Chris from Protect the Shield.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the Weekly Wire. This week, our topics in Chris's Weekly Word are Manic Monday. What's Manic Monday? It just happened. It was crazy. We had
another Manic Monday. I wish it was Sunday.
We had Jakobi asking for a trade. We had Amari Cooper coming back. And we picked up Kenny Pickett, QB backup, due to some injury. Also, we claimed Brennan Jackson, linebacker from the Rams. And we will be talking about the 53-man roster. Who's in what position and what are the thoughts. Other than that, let's get started. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, let's get it, man.
Let's do it. All right. So, Manic Monday. If you guys don't know what a Manic Monday is, it's a Monday that just everything goes wrong. It's just crazy. It's horrible. It's a worst case scenario. And to us Raider fans, when the news started popping off, that Jakobi Myers wanted a trade, it was like, here we go again. We're starting back with our old ways, starting that drama right before the season. What do you know about this, Chris? Why was he asking for a trade?
Well, people got to remember, and they always are quick to say, the NFL's a business. Jakobi Myers has been, one of those guys. He was an undrafted free agent, and all he's done is work his butt off. He's been a guy that, brings his lunch pail, blue collar guy, doesn't complain. Literally the opposite of, what most people think wide receivers are, opposite of a diva, a guy that goes out there and blocks, does all the gritty work, catch the ball in the middle of the field, all that stuff. So Jakobi's coming off of, his best season, his 1,000-yard season. And, it's basically a contract year for him. So, he wants to get paid, for one, just the way our offense is going to be built for this upcoming season. I think that he kind of understands that, hey, I probably have the most leverage now to get, a decent payday, because, this year, we got, a running back that, is going to get the ball quite a bit. We got some other wide receivers. We have a offensive coordinator that likes to spread the ball around and stuff like that. So, as good as Jakobi is, he may not get as many opportunities to, get catches and targets and stuff like that. I think he just wants to be paid, his fair share. He's been doing everything the right way. People act like he's not, a number one. He may not necessarily be a number one, but he's definitely, one of the best number twos in the in the league. And I don't think he wants anything that's too crazy. I think you pay a guy like that. He's a great locker room guy. He's a guy again that does things the right way. He's a guy that you want Dante Thornton to watch. You want Jack Best to watch. You want them to see Jakobi and see how to move like a professional does. So I understand him asking for money, and I think we should pay him.
Definitely. I think personally this is just a contractual ploy to kind of put the Raiders in the corner and make them make that decision, which they know they want to. They just probably didn't want to drop as many bags as they're expected to. They want to save some money, so they're kind of like, no, you know what? Let's play the game. We go low, you go high, but they're not trying to meet in the middle. They're still trying to stay low. So I think this was one of the last options for Jakobi's camp to actually, be able to say, pay me my money.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly understandable because, he's still under contract for another year.
Yeah.
So if the Raiders pay him or not, he's gonna show up and show out this season, and he's gonna be worth a lot more money to any other team, or even the Raiders if they want to keep him.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, man, you guys fucked up. You guys should have paid me way back when.
Yeah.
Either way, I think it's in definitely his benefit. I don't think the Raider Nation should worry. Our leadership isn't that stupid, that they'll let him walk, especially, with the rookies that we have. They're showing promise, but they're not there yet.
No.
It's going to take some time to get them to that point. And right now we need a proven leader, a proven player on the field, to complement our running game, to complement our quarterback, and our offensive play calling. So Jakobi Myers is definitely a key cog that the Raiders need in offense.
Yeah, no, sure.
Yes.
And the thing with him is, he's, he's still there practicing. He's doing everything the right way. He's not at least at this point holding out, anything like that. It could get to that point. We'll see, but hopefully they get a deal done. So we'll see what happens. And I'm sure teams are going to be calling for him, specifically the Patriots. Josh McDaniels loves him. So, I would, I'm definitely going to pay close attention, over these next, couple days and see what happens. Yeah,
there's been rumors already that there's some teams that have reached out, to inquiring about him. But the Raiders are like, nope, we're not gonna let him go.
Right.
So, I just think, the Raiders are gonna bend, and they're gonna end up paying the man.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's what he wants and his fair share.
Right.
All right. Next, guess who's back? Coop. Amari Cooper is back with the Raiders. What do you think of this acquisition, Chris?
It's one of those things where, I got to kind of wait and see. Just Coop by itself, he's cool. He's a little older. For me, Coop isn't a guy that like excites me, especially at this point in his career, because he's not, he's always kind of lacked that dog mentality, so he's not a guy that necessarily going to be the best leader. But if he's just like an additional piece, like an additional weapon, then yeah, I'm good with that. But if he's supposed to be like the replacement for Jakobi Myers, I have a big problem with that. Because again, he's almost like the opposite at some point. To a point, because, he's not, for one, he drops the ball a lot. There's been years where he led the NFL in drops, whereas, Jakobi's pretty short-handed. And, I always tell people, with me living in Ohio, I watch the Browns quite a bit because my dad's a Browns fan, and, a lot of my best friends are Browns fans and stuff like that. But even last year, before he got traded to the Bills, he had to actually, go on, in his presser, he actually, had to basically talk about how, he has to do better. He has to practice harder, stuff like that. And it's like, I'm thinking like a veteran who's been in the league this long,
Should know better.
Yeah, better. And it's like, and that's just, he always seemed like that type of guy that's just like, I don't know, man. He's just, again, he can be a weapon. He has been a weapon. But, again, if he's going to be a guy that is replacing Jakobi, I'm not happy about it at all.
Yeah, I'm lukewarm on the pickup because I never really liked him after the fact, because he just, it seemed like when he started with the Raiders, he was doing well. That whole combination with him and Michael Crabtree, it was great.
Yeah.
Derek Carr. Then all of a sudden, a few seasons later, his production changed. His demeanor changed. He was kind of like just going through the motions.
Going through the motions. And that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you were our number one pick.
Yeah.
You have to be the leader, but he wasn't. And
Yeah.
then, he moved on to the Cowboys, and then Browns, then the Bills, right?
Bills, yeah.
And he never stood out.
Yeah.
So him coming back to us, it's kind of like that ex-girlfriend that cheated on you with like 4 other guys, and then she's coming back to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You made a mistake. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what?
And she comes back when she's not as hot either.
Exactly.
She done had kids and the stretch marks, and she's not as hot now. Might be missing a tooth. You never know, man. So
I'm like, whatever. And again, that the point that you're making, him being a replacement for Jakobi, I don't think is should be it. Like, he shouldn't be
Right.
it. He is not a replacement for him.
Right.
To add depth, okay. Leadership, definitely not, because he doesn't have it. But just to add another piece in there, someone with experience, someone that I guess can be a visual leader or a visual teacher, maybe. But again, not drinking the Kool-Aid, and we're gonna wait and see. See what happens. But till then, Amari Cooper, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. He's a Raider, so we're always gonna, we're definitely gonna welcome with open arms, and we'll just see what happens. If we go ahead and still sign Jakobi, then I would feel a lot better, because then it's like, all right, now Coop out there with Jakobi and now Thornton and Tutton. Now you kind of got something now, more weapons. But again, we'll see how it plays out.
Yep, we'll see. All right, next on this Manic Monday, we had the acquisition of Kenny Pickett, quarterback. I understand why they picked him up, because obviously our number 2 got hurt, AOC. I don't know much about Kenny Pickett other than he was talked about a lot during his draft. But tell us a little something about it, man. And what do you think about this pickup? Is this a solid backup quarterback? Is it somebody that can have potential to be our starter? What do you think?
Yeah, so with Pickett, he's a guy that he does have starting experience. He's
25 games, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yep. And he's won some games. He's not a guy that's going to super wow you with his arm. He's pretty conservative at times. But the thing is, because he's not like that pure like gunslinger or anything like that. But when the biggest thing with Pickett, like I don't mind him just like just as a player, just like isolated as a player. It's like I'm not necessarily against him, but I don't necessarily like giving up any kind of draft capital for him. I feel like there's other veterans that we could have got, especially at this time of year. People they're dropping. There's guys available, for what you need them for. So, and one thing, and salute to Severe, we kind of talked about it in the war room, was, Pete Carroll always talks about, competing, being competitive and things like that. One thing that, I forgot about Kenny Pickett is like, as soon as the Steelers, signed what's his name, Justin Fields, he didn't want to stay there and compete. He asked for a trade immediately. He wanted to get up out of the Steelers because he didn't even want to compete for the positions.
So do you think it's an insecurity, maybe?
I mean, I don't know, and again, I think that's just kind of how these kids are. Well, I won't call them kids, but, it kind of starts in college, with the transfer portal and stuff like that. Where back in the day, you'd be out there and you got to earn your spot and you got to beat out the guy. If not, you wait until it's your turn. Now it's like this mindset of, if I'm not going to be handed the job, I want to go somewhere else where, I'll have the better opportunity of getting it handed to me. So, I don't know. So it's just, I don't see him as that competitive nature type of guy. So, but,
So you think he has like entitlement issues?
I won't even say that. And again, that whole situation may not even be that big of a deal because, again, football, NFL is a business. But it's just, to me, when I was reminded of it, it just doesn't come off as a guy that's like, hey, I used to be a first-round pick. I know Justin Fields was a first-round pick, but hey, I'm about to beat him. I'm going to beat him out. This is going to be my position. Like,
that's right.
It wasn't that type of mindset that he had. It was more or less, let me try to go somewhere else. So,
But for, backup, do you feel he suits our needs? Like, is he good enough? Is he better than AOC?
Yeah, so I think he's good enough. Again, he's not going to just wow you, but he has more upside than AOC. I think that, yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think he'll ever like be a starter. I don't think he'll ever really push for a starting position, but I mean, he could be a pretty good backup. If someone goes down, you need him for a game or so, he can get the job done. So again, I'm not necessarily upset with Kenny Pickett himself. It's just, giving up a 5th round pick. A lot of people think 5th round pick isn't that much, but a lot of times, that 5th round pick can be, it could sweeten up a deal that can get you something big. So, we'll see.
I don't know much about the kid. I remember during his draft, his name was talked about a lot, but after he got drafted, I didn't really pay attention to him. So that's why we have Chris that gives us all his great knowledge of these players. But
yeah,
let's hope he's able to stay on the sideline and he doesn't have to come in to play it down, but a good security blanket.
Right.
All right. So now we go to a linebacker acquisition that we claimed from the Rams, Brennan Jackson.
Yeah.
Obviously, this episode is dropping on Saturday. I believe the acquisition was made on Wednesday. What are your thoughts on bringing in more depth in our linebacker position?
Yeah, so, when you're talking about Jackson, he's a guy that, is a linebacker, kind of an edge rusher as well. He's basically known for, being a guy that has like that good, size and, explosion and speed and stuff like that. Like he's known to be like kind of athletic, high effort guy. So again, he's a guy that we always talk about that can probably bring some depth. That's what we need more than anything right now. I mean, I just think our roster is pretty, it's pretty weak. We don't have the depth, and we always talk about that. So we need guys that can come in and ignite, some guys that come in and for, special teams, go out there and be valuable there and come in and give some of our starters a breather and stuff like that. So again, it's not like I know a whole lot about him. It's not like he has a lot of starts and stuff like that. I think he only may have had like one start, last year with the Rams. So it's not like he has a whole bunch of, time, but, we'll see if he can compete and if he can, find a spot on this roster long term. We'll see.
All right. Yeah, let's hope, man. I know there's been other acquisitions. We'll get that on a later date because there's going to be a lot of movement, in this next week, because everybody wants to get ready for week 1.
Right.
We're definitely going to see a lot of movements, a lot of teams. Everybody's set their 53-man roster, so there's a lot of players out there, and they're probably scrambling to try and find who and what's best for the team. So we'll get into that on a later episode. But right now, I just wanted to talk about him because here in LA, that was talked about, a lot on the news. So I just wanted to bring it up. So welcome, Brennan Jackson, to the Raiders.
For sure.
Our next topic, which is the main one, obviously, we had our third preseason game in Arizona, and of course we lost. Didn't matter. Our leadership made the decision and created our 53-man roster. And what I want to do, I don't want to go in depth with, the different players. We're just going to go down the line of different positions through offense and defense. And then, speak briefly about who's there, who should have been there, and just move on because it's a lot of positions. So let's start off with obviously the most important one, the leader of our team, which is the quarterbacks. So it shows on our 53-man roster, obviously our starter is Geno Smith, and number 2, Kenny Pickett, and number 3, Aiden O'Connell. What do you think of that? Because obviously there was a lot of talk about Cam taking that third spot after Aiden got hurt. What are they trying to tell us with this move?
Well, I mean, I think that, they're saying that, Cam Miller's not ready, for one, which he's not. For two, with AOC being injured, they had to get, a viable backup, and they feel that Kenny is that guy. So, looking at that quarterback room as a whole, they're okay. We don't know what we're going to get out of Geno. Geno has showed that he can be successful in the NFL, but he also is showed that he can struggle as well. So we don't know what to expect from him. But that position group, I mean, we're better this year at that position group than we've been for a while. So, we just have to see what we can make of it.
And it's sad because that's not saying much.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
Not saying much, but yes, we are definitely better.
Yeah.
As long as, knock on wood, as long as the injury bug leaves us alone, we'll be okay.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely be okay. Okay, now let's go to the running backs. We have, obviously, Ashton Jeanty, Zamir White, Raheem Mostert, and Dylan Lowry. Do you feel that this lineup, the way it's set up, is correct? Is it the strongest that we could have had?
Yeah, it's solid. I definitely like Raheem Mostert. If he could stay healthy, and to be honest, I think Zamir White, at least what I've saw in preseason, he looks better. He looks more explosive. He looks
more agile. Yeah,
more agile. I think he kind of slimmed down a little bit. I think last year he kind of bulked up.
Yeah, he was yoked.
Yeah, so it seems like he's he has a little bit more wiggle to his game. Reading blocks better. I've seen him, kind of make guys miss stuff that we didn't necessarily see before. So I'm not, I think Chip Kelly's going to want to run the ball quite a bit. So, I'm interested to see how that works out.
And then what about Dylan Lowry? I thought what everybody had been talking about, he was going to be more suited for special teams.
Yeah, I think he will still play special teams, but I think that he had a pretty good preseason, whether it was on special teams or, even just running the ball. He looked like he was a guy that was, he came in with a chip on his shoulder, so you can tell that he was really working to make this team, and he made it. So we'll see how long he stays, if he'll be on the team all year, but, congrats to him.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the running back room definitely looks pretty strong. Everybody that's in the position that they are, I kind of assumed that was going to be the case, except for Dylan. I thought he was definitely just going to be, special teams, but no, we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, now let's go to the wide receivers. We have Dante Thornton, Jakobi Myers, Amari Cooper, Trey Tucker, and Jack Besh. Is that like Dante Thornton as the number one?
No, I don't think. I honestly think it'll be Amari and Myers. I think they'll start with probably with. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be Trey Tucker or Dante, because they'll probably put, if it's a 3 receiver set, they'll probably put Myers in the slot. So yeah, I just don't know. To be honest, it probably will be Tucker. Tucker will probably be that other receiver, to be honest. And then Thornton, he still has some more work to do. You know, I know we like, you know, his size and speed and all that, but I think you know, he'll get better throughout as the season goes on.
Yeah, the only one I'm concerned about here is Jack Besh, because he didn't show much during the preseason. You know, so that's really about it. But he was our our second round draft pick. So, you know, obviously they're going to give him a chance. But other than that, you know, it seems pretty solid. You know, the way that the list is presented, you know, we're bookended by rookies. But it seems like we have enough individuals with experience to be able to help guide and, you know, educate them.
Yeah.
You know, on what they need to do. So, you know, wide receiver room looks pretty good. Of course, best of the best, the tight end room.
Yeah.
You know, we got Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, and Ian Thomas. You know, I personally think Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, I think that they're going to do great. Don't know much about Ian Thomas. Do we even really need a third tight end? More than likely he's a blocking tight end, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, he's a blocking guy, but he also can be pretty decent in the you know, red zone as well. He's a big guy, you know, big target. So yeah, no, I honestly I'm good with that group. You know, I think that he brings, you know, all 3 of them they bring, you know, something a little different. You know, I think Brock, of course, is a guy that can stretch the field and really be your, you know, you can really run your offense around him. You know, Mike, you know, he can receive as well, but he can block. And the end, more block heavy, but, you know, he can go out and be a threat, catch the ball if needed as well. So I think we got the whole gamut. Yeah,
because definitely we're going to need them to block if we're going to be running a lot.
Right.
You know, so we're definitely going to need them for that. So tight end room looks pretty good. Now we go to the offensive line. We have Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Jordan Meredith, JPJ, DJ Glaze, Alex Kappa, Caleb Rogers. It says Thayer Mumford, but as we know, he is no longer with us.
Yeah.
Charles Grant and Will Putnam.
Yeah.
What do you think of this group?
You know, I have a lot of concerns about that group. You know, worried about Parham. You know, he didn't have a bad preseason, but you know, just seeing what he's done in the league so far, you know, that worries me. Not having JPJ at his natural position at center worries me. Meredith, he's looked pretty good at center, but you know, I still think he's a better guard. You know, Glaze seems like he's doing okay, but again, we'll see how he does when he goes against, you know, starting caliber defensive linemen. So, but yeah, overall, I do have concerns, you know, so they did show some growth during the preseason, but again, I want to see them against the first team, you know, going against Micah Parsons and, you know, Chris Jones and all those, going against the best of the best to see how they do.
Well, let's hope, man, because that's definitely something that we're going to need if our offense is going to be successful.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if we're going to run that rock, we need these guys to be able to block and make holes for the running back to run through and give the quarterback enough time
for sure
to get out there and be able to throw the ball when need be.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the defensive line. Obviously, our man, Max Crosby, Jonah Laulu, Adam Butler, Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson, Thomas Booker, Leki Fotu, Charles Snowden, JJ Pegues, and the guy with the best name ever, Tonka Hemingway.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of our defensive line?
They're okay. You know, of course, Max is Max, you know, one of the best in the business. You know, I think the wild card would be if Kuntz can get back to the explosive player that I know he can become. And B, preseason, you know, I didn't see what I wanted to see from him, but again, maybe he was playing it a little careful, you know, because he didn't want to, you know, injure himself or
right.
anything like that. So we'll see. You know, inside, you know, I do like Adam Butler. You know, I think that some of the other defensive tackles are a little shaky, but, you know, they do provide depth. But to be able, like, to say that I'm confident at that specific D-line, getting after Mahomes all, all game and getting home and being a real disturbance. I don't know. A lot of it really depends on, how well Koontz can do. We're all hoping that Tyree can become something.
Oh, yes.
Knows what that's going to, if that's going to do anything. Charles Snowden, he shows flashes of someone that can do well and get after quarterbacks. Overall, the defensive line, they're not the worst unit on our team, but there's always going to be concerns with depth.
Definitely. Yeah, that's obviously our biggest, I think, Achilles heel right now on the team is our depth.
Yeah.
We have above average to average starters, but those backups, man, because this is a very difficult, hard-hitting sport.
Yeah.
Someone's eventually going to get hurt, and we need those guys that are going to step up to be able to step up. And right now, I don't think we have the confidence in them,
right,
to be able to do that.
Right.
All right, so now let's go to the linebacking group. We have Elandon Roberts, Jermaine Pratt, Devin White, Jamal Adams, Tommy Eckenberg, and Cody Lindbergh. What do you think of those guys?
To be honest, going into the offseason, I was very worried about the linebackers. The linebackers are actually probably the unit that I feel pretty good about, because I think there was a lot of question marks whether, someone like a Devin White had anything left in the tank. Devin's starting. He's been playing pretty good. He's been getting after it. Elandon Roberts, he's he shows that he can be a dog. He can be a dog. And Pratt, I think Pratt's the same way. So I think you got three guys that really get after it. Three guys that are physical players. They like to hit, and then, Jamal Adams, moving him from safety to linebacker.
Oh, that was good.
That experiment is looking very good.
Yes.
Jamal he's been all over the field, coming downhill, getting in coverage, getting in, passing lanes and stuff like that. So I actually feel pretty strong about this linebacker core. And if you would have asked me, a couple months ago, that would have been probably the group that I thought was maybe the weakest. So
yeah, the weakest or second weakest,
right,
behind our defensive backs.
Right.
Yeah. So being that we picked up Brennan Jackson, did they release any of these players? Because obviously this list, this roster was released, I believe, on Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't think they released anyone. Oh no, in fact, that may have been the Thayer Mumford. Maybe once we released Thayer, maybe possibly.
Yeah, that was maybe the piece the position that he took on the 53.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's go to our cornerbacks. We have Eric Stokes, Darian Porter, Caillou Blue Kelly, Darnay Holmes, and Cameron Richards. What are your thoughts on that group?
That's scary. That's scary. It's scary because you don't really have no one that's really proven. Stokes has shown he can play in the NFL. He has upside, but he also has some injury concerns. I think what's the name? Porter has a ways to go. He's new to the position. I think we're seeing that he has a ways to go. DeCamerion, he has a lot of developing that needs to happen for him. Darnay Holmes, he's a guy that's decent. But overall, again, I don't want to talk bad about him, but I definitely think this is one of our weakest groups. There has to be a lot of coaching up and a lot of developing for these guys to really become a special, strong unit.
I've been hearing a lot of positive talk of Caillou Blue Kelly during the preseason.
Yeah.
Do you believe he's going to be good enough to play the position, or is he still somewhat of a concern?
I think he's a concern, but he is a guy that he showed some good stuff on film. Like if you watch, some of the preseason games, he's making plays. He gets out there, he's running around. Again, a high motor guy, so I respect what he brings to the table. Do I feel comfortable with him, lining up against, Hollywood Brown or any of these other, Keenan Allen or whoever, they're lining up against? Absolutely not, so we'll see. But at the end of the day, I do not really like our corner room. I know we have a lot of guys that are pretty tall and long arms and fast, but that's definitely a room that has to be developed, and that's really, it's kind of scary.
It is. Definitely is. Now let's move on to the safeties. We have Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Polamau, Chris Smith, and Thomas Harper. What do you got?
So they actually just cut Harper.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I think that was today. But they, I do like Jeremy Chin. I do like Chin. I like Polamau, but I still think he has more developing. But I think he could be a player. I really do. And then Chris Smith, he showed some flashes in preseason. He was a guy that I liked in college because he was on that good Georgia Bulldog team. He was a leader there. I think he was even a captain for that team. He shows that he can probably play in this league. Again, he'll need to develop. But I think our safety room is just middle of the road. Nothing to really write home about. I do like Jeremy Chin. I like the way he plays. But, is he going to be a guy that's, one of the best safeties in the AFC? I can't see that. Yeah.
Well, for me, it looks okay.
Yeah.
A little better, but, I wouldn't call this an elite group. But, we're just going to have to wait and see how they all gel together, and start actually playing real ball, not right. Just this vanilla ball that they've been playing.
Exactly. That's all we've been saying, or we've been seeing is vanilla. So, we haven't seen, smart offensive coordinators attacking weaknesses and, looking at, trends that they've been showing off. So it's, we're in the very beginning. So, there's a lot of ball to be played.
Definitely a lot of ball. Now we'll go to our special teams. We have obviously Daniel Carlson, AJ Cole, and what's the other guy? The long snapper, Jacob. God, I don't know how to say his name.
Oh yeah.
I
always mess up his name too. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I
always mess it up too.
It's a difficult one, but
yeah,
that's probably our strongest group, I think.
Yeah. You got Cole. Cole is one of the best in the business, and Carlson, when he's on, he's on. So yeah, we always generally have a pretty good special teams group. That's kind of thing that we've always had.
Even though Carlson has been a little worrisome in
he has
a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
But he's still good.
Yeah. That's why it was good to see him make some, have a pretty good preseason, because I think last year, he was pretty inconsistent. So, I would like to see him get back to where he was a couple years ago, where he was probably considered, one of the top 3 kickers in the league.
Yeah, especially I believe this is his, it's a contract year for him, right?
I think so, because I think, yep. So he has to get it going if he wants to get that payday.
Yeah, he does. So yeah, that's basically our 53-man roster. More than likely, there are going to be more moves happening, because they can make moves till, what is it, week 6, right, of the season?
Well, like trade,
yeah, trades and stuff. like that.
Yeah, I think they can trade to like week 8 or 10. Like it's like midway through the season. So yeah,
Yeah, but the main moves are usually right before week 1. So we will definitely have more for our next episode, but right now we just wanted to give you guys a bit of information on what's current.
Yeah, for sure.
So as more information comes out, we will definitely let you know, because our team is a revolving door. If a player doesn't work out, we're going to get somebody else.
Right.
And hopefully, because there are rumors of big names coming in, which I am hoping that they're all rumors, because we don't do good with big name players.
Yeah.
I think we should just develop. The one that really disappointed me was our international player.
Yeah, Lucky Tassi.
Yeah, that they let him go, man.
But they brought him back on the practice squad.
He made it?
Oh yeah, he's back on the practice squad.
That's good.
Yeah, so he's safe. He cleared waivers. He's safe. So
that's good. Yeah, because I was worried that somebody else was going to pick him up just on his size alone.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, he's going to be a long-term development project. But I think, I wish we'd have kept him on defense, but we'll see what he can do. He's a big boy, man. Big boy.
He is, man. So Raider Nation, that was the 53-man roster. What do you guys think? Do you guys think, that the way our team sits now, is good enough? Is it not? Let us know. Also, What do you think about Jakobi Myers? Do you think we should pay the man? Do you think we should trade him? Let us know. Amari Cooper coming back. Do we really need him? Let us know. Give us this information. Give us that feedback. We need it. We want it. Okay. So other than that, that's the conclusion of Chris's weekly word. Now, just want to make a couple of announcements because obviously next week is week 1. We have our very first game against the Patriots in New England. There's going to be a lot of events in New England. If you guys are going, tap in with the Black Hole New England, with Raiders Against the World, with Cheeto Linus. Is Cheeto going?
I think so.
Yeah. So tap
no,
he's
he's not going. I don't think he is going actually.
Oh, okay. Well, tap in with Raiders Against the World and the Black Hole New England. They're going to be doing a bunch of events up there if you guys are going to go. But if you're not and you're in Southern California, join the Severe Raider, myself, and a lot of other booster clubs, content creators, and super fans. We're going to be having a watch party at the Dank Crypto Bar in the city of Hawthorne. It's going to be a 10 a.m. game, so it's going to be early. Sorry, we don't have any food for you, but if you guys want to bring some, you guys are more than welcome. But we will definitely be having drink specials. We're going to be having $5 draft beers. If you bring a Raider jersey, anybody with a Raider jersey, draft beers, $5 all day. Also, Severe and I, we're going to be giving you guys a free shot every time the Raiders score a touchdown. And mind you, it's a free shot while supplies last. Because, if our Raiders turn it around and they're scoring 4 or 5 touchdowns, we ain't got that much alcohol, but, we'll try and give you something. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a great event. It's going to be the start of our new season. And who better than to hang out with them, with the Raider Nation, to watch our very first game. So again, if you guys are in the neighborhood, come through. It's unfortunately it is a bar, so no kids are allowed. It's adults only. So come through, have a good time, join us. It's gonna be a blast. Also, week 2, that's the big one. That's when the War Room, Chris, 805, Severe, and myself are gonna be going to our home opener, the Monday night game against the Chargers. It's going to be an amazing weekend. There's so many events happening up there. We're going to be attending as much as we can, going to be recording as much as we can, but also we're going to be hosting an event, which is the meetup at Tapanash Social Club in the Arts District. Like I said, the War Room, myself, a lot of booster clubs, a lot of super fans, a lot of content creators. We're going to be in the house, hanging out, smoking sticks, having drinks, making conversation, enjoying each other before the big game. It's going to be on Saturday the 13th, starting at 3 o'clock. The reason why it's starting so early is because there's going to be a lot of events in the evening, and this is kind of like the pre-flight. This is going to be where we hang out first, get a couple of drinks in, and then we're going to go party the night away. So join us at Tapanash. It's going to be a great event, free of charge, other than what you're consuming. And man, it's going to be a blast. What are your thoughts on this event, Chris?
Yeah, no, it's going to be great, man. Looking forward to it. I mean, there's just a lot going on just that weekend, for the boxing lovers, it's that Canelo fight. So we're definitely excited, for that, and just getting ready for the Raiders, man, getting ready for that home opener, and just having some fun, getting a lot of drinks in, smoking the cigars, and just enjoying Vegas, just the way we know how. So it's going to be a good time.
It's definitely going to be a blast. So if you guys are going to the home opener, please join us. We're all going to be there. We would love to take pictures with you, chop it up with you, interview you if you want, because I'm definitely going to be recording for the Raider Nation roll call. And, just join us, please.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast. So, Chris, other than that, that's all we got for this week. Let the Raider Nation know what you got, brother, because like we started the show off, you got Jason Campbell coming in the house. What else you got?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's it, man. For the most part, I'm just getting excited, man. So of course, you guys can catch me on all social media platforms. Protect the Shield podcast. Again, I'm very excited about having Jason Campbell on there.
Yes.
But as you guys know, man, make sure you guys check out the Raider War Room. With myself, my brother Severe, my brother 805 Raider. We really have fun. Breaking down film. We do that usually on Tuesday or Wednesdays now, and then we usually go on Sundays after the game, doing like a post-game breakdown and stuff like that. So, definitely check us out. Again, we love the conversation and we just have fun. We're not going to be, some of those fans that are just going to feed you the BS and coddle you and all that stuff. We try to be objective thinkers, and we love people that critically think and can look at the team and be objective and just keep it real. So, definitely check us out if that's the type of content you like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, as for me, as you guys know, we do the Raider Nation Weekly Wire every week with my brother here, Chris from Protect the Shield podcast. Also got the Raider Nation Roll Call right now on deck. Actually, right now, the episode that I recently recorded with All In Autumn Wind is out. Please check it out after you watch this one if you haven't watched it already.
It'll be fire. It's fire.
Brian is actually going out to break a Guinness Book of World Records. He's going to try to attend one game every football day for the whole season.
Yeah.
So that's like 50 some odd games that he's going to go. So, he's doing it representing us, the Raider Nation, and he's going to be documenting everything. So check it out.
Yeah.
I had that fire interview with him. We get in depth on his history, on how All In Autumn Wind came to be, and his previous record that he did was attend every Raider game for the past 3.25 years.
Yeah.
He went to every game.
Yeah.
So, we talk about all that and obviously other topics of what All In Autumn Wind is all about. So check that out. Also, I'm going to have another episode drop in with the Raider Crusaders. I'm going to be interviewing Lorenzo. We're going to be talking about their big event happening in Vegas. They're going to have a party that same weekend of the home opener. We're going to be talking about that. We have Silver and Black Coffee. I interviewed them. It's coming soon. I have Everyday Cigar Day with Stogie Nation. That one's coming soon. Man, and also actually Sunday, I'm interviewing the Violator. We're going to be reviewing and chopping it up about his cigars, about his historic career with the Raider Nation as a Raider fan from LA to Oakland to Las Vegas. So don't miss out on all these episodes. Remember, it's Raider Nation Roll Call, Raider Nation's Weekly Wire, and the Stogie Nation. And remember, Raider Nation, everything we do is for the nation, by the nation.
Raider, let's go!